Hey, welcome to Utah Highways. As you know, there's a search, a treasure hunt going on in Utah right now, in which the Klein fam and On the John have hidden $20,000 this year for us to go find. And frankly, if you're like me, you've probably spent a little too much time thinking about it, maybe out looking for it. And honestly, my best guess is far enough away now that I'm not going to drive up there and look in that spot. So what I'm going to do in this video instead is I'm going to tell you all of my thoughts. I'm quite confident that I'll tell you a few things you had not thought of, some possible ways to interpret these clues, so that maybe you can be the one to find it. And if you think this is a great idea, then we've also got some more clues, another poem coming out in 2 days. And if you want me to do this again for that, all my great brainstorming, then just give this video a like and I'll be happy to do that. So let's take a look at the screen. I'll walk you through what I'm thinking, what I've thought of so far, and what has panned out and what is not. As David points out, the first of the poem, the first lines are the most important because they do bring you in like a zoom lens, right? They start with kind of the big area, and if you get that spot right, now the other clues will lead you in the right direction. Whereas if you start with some clue at the end and think, oh, I know what that is, like I did my first time, then you'll be in the completely wrong area, and you'll just be having a great hike instead of getting rich. Well, mildly rich. So let's start there. Start your search with each cool morning. I'll do this line by line. And on this one, frankly, I really haven't thought of that much. In fact, I've really thought of just one good possibility for that. Let me show you what that is. It's right here in Ogden Canyon, and you'll notice if we zoom in a little bit here, we have a place called Coldwater Canyon. So Coldwater, cool morning, that might line up. And later on, by the way, there's a little clue that makes me think that we're looking at a canyon, possibly heading east up a canyon. So other than that, though, I really only one of the other lines seem to correspond with this. And the trick is, you know, you think of all these ideas and then you have to rate each one for your confidence level. So my confidence level on Coldwater Canyon, being the thing that represents, that matches up with cool mornings, is about a 2 out of 10. It's pretty low, but it's all I've got so far. You know, any of the canyons pretty much that could match. It's cooler up there. You get the cool breezes coming down. So I'm sure there's something more ingenious they thought of when they wrote that line than this, but that's all I got. Sorry. Next line, think of how they would send a warning. Also, I pretty much drew a blank. I met some other treasure seekers yesterday, and one woman had the idea that this refers to the warning systems in the canyons, like avalanche warning and so forth. So different canyons have some of those. So I don't know how helpful that is. In a second, I'll tell you one other possible meaning for that. Round 3, however, I started getting a couple ideas that I think match relatively well the way David and John think, and so I might be on to something. Here it is. Around or through where 2 birds feed. Well, as you know, they like to play with words, and I mean, this is a code, right? This is a clue. So the first time I looked at that word around, I noticed it seems like there's a lot of space between and round, and I don't know if that's significant or not. Probably not. It's probably just something to do with the typeface. But what if it is? What if it's a round, as in a round of golf? You know, and maybe you want to play through. And 2 birds, what's that? Those are birdies, you know. And is that like 200 pars? I'm not really a golfer. Is that a birdie? And then where they feed. So maybe we're looking for a golf course restaurant. And there are a few of those that I found. For example, one of them is right here at the Spanish Oaks golf course here, and the road goes right through it, and you can also kind of go around it. And then here's another thing with this one. 2 birds, zoom in, and we've got a couple streets here. All right, it's not showing up for me, but one of these is like, oh, there it is, Eagle Drive and Hawk Drive. So there's 2, and you know, this brings us up near Spanish Oaks Reservoir. So we'll talk a little bit more about this, and I'll tell you some more details in a minute. By the way, did I mention that along with telling you all my clues, I'm also going to tell you one professional searcher tip, like one of the most important things we, like rescue professionals, do when we're looking for someone. And this might help you to locate the treasure when you get in close. I'll tell you that at the end. Anyway, there are several other spots that have golf courses you can drive through. There's this one up in Soldier Hollow, Wasatch Mountain Golf Course. I couldn't figure out any other clues that really line up with that one, so I kind of ruled that out. But there are several others at some of the canyon mouths and everything. So keep that in mind. I think this is going to be found by somebody who's kind of local and familiar with enough of these clues that they all kind of make sense to them. Hopefully that is you. Another thought for a round is like a round of ammunition. So maybe that's a gun range. And now think back to line 2, think how they would send a warning. Maybe it's a law enforcement gun range, and there are a couple of those up against the mountain. One up against Timpanogos, just in Orem there, in the northeast corner of Orem, and I think there's one in Bountiful as well. All right, jumping on to line 4, look down on your faithful steed. So what's that, a horse, a mule? Maybe it's just a vehicle. At first I thought of this like, this just means that you can ride or drive your car or bike or something to this point, and maybe at that point you're going to dismount. But then I thought of another idea as well. Maybe you're looking down on some geological feature that is named after a steed, a horse. So we have a couple horse ridges, and this is up above Huntsville, below Monte Cristo overlook there, and that's barely within the borders of that map, that Canadian map that they've given us. We'll be back to this area one more time with another clue. So with that and with Cold Creek Canyon, this is, well, it doesn't all line up well enough for me yet to have any confidence. Along with horse, I checked out mule. There are several mule hollows, for example. So that might be worth looking into there. So Big Cottonwood has some of that. So if all the clues line up with that, then look into it. Rest a moment when that's done. So again, maybe that implies you just climb something, you just gain some altitude, you need a little rest. I couldn't think of anything else for that one. Around the heart, but don't yet, no, sorry, I jumped ahead one. Then turn now from the rising sun. So this sounds like you were going east. Remember I mentioned earlier that there's something that seems to imply that we were going east, maybe up a canyon. That's it. Turn now from the rising sun. So like you were going east, now you're going to go west. Although there is the possibility that you're looking up at the sun and now you simply look down. That's also a possibility. Around the heart, but don't yet stop. So the first one that I thought of with this one, of course, was the Great Heart of Timpanogos. It's a 2,000-pound stalactite in Timpanogos Cave up American Fork Canyon. You know, driving up American Fork Canyon, that's the Fee area, right? So that kind of rules out this whole region, if that's true. And yeah, I haven't put together enough clues to really indicate that that's where I think it should be. Although there was a while where I thought, I'll tell you about that in a minute, where I thought that was lining up with a few clues and making some more sense. So other things you could think of are just things that are shaped like hearts. So let's jump back to Spanish Oaks for a minute. Now, if we go here, if we look at this reservoir from the right angle, that looks a little bit like a heart, doesn't it? I mean, everyone's so enamored with hearts these days. Like, if you say it looks like a heart, then great, it looks like a heart. So that's a possibility, another hit for this area. And also, we could just be looking at anything shaped like a heart. So, for example, I looked at Hobble Creek Canyon down here out of Springville, and as you know, it goes up and it goes a right fork, and then it cuts up to Little Valley up here and wraps back and comes back in Hobble Creek left fork. And it sort of makes a heart shape in that. So I thought about that being possible, but again, I didn't have enough strong hits there to figure it out there. So this next one is another one that I bet you didn't think of, that I think is pretty clever, and I like it a lot, but again, I couldn't line it up with enough clues. Wave as you pass Weathertop. So Weathertop, of course, is from J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and everything, and it's the hill, it's the place where Frodo gets stabbed first by those 9 guys with the other rings, who no man can kill. And it's kind of a hilltop. There's a guard tower. There's a lookout from there. So on one hand, this could refer to any kind of lookout kind of point or any mountain. Like when I was looking up American Fork Canyon, I was thinking North Timpanogos. You know, it's got those kind of cliffs up near the top the whole way down, really. And I thought that could align with that. But then I got a better idea. And again, this is totally random. This may or maybe not be correct. And that is, maybe it refers to bald people. Have you ever heard people, like bald people, talk about how they have a weather station on their top of the head? It's kind of like one of those weather rocks, right? You set the rock there, and if it's wet, you're like, oh, it's raining. And if there's snow on it, oh, it's snowing. You know, in tech, it's just a stupid weather thing. So maybe Weathertop refers to somebody named who's bald. And look how many different bald mountains we have in this area. Bald Head, Baldy, Little Baldy, Bald Knoll. There are a bunch of those. And so again, if you can line that up with something else where you're finding some clues, then do that. And there's one of those, I believe, by the way, if we zoom in here, a little closer up here by Monte Cristo. Well, right over here, it's not showing up on my map right now, but I think there's a bald mountain or bald ridge or something right over there as well. So there's one more vote for that area above Huntsville. Left or right, it's up to you. For this one, I also thought of Hobble Creek and how it does a big loop and you can go around either way, or maybe the Alpine Loop, which of course, again, we've kind of ruled out. But when I found this Julie Andrews Meadow, which I'll get to in a second again, like why I really thought it was here for a minute, then you notice that you can start on the trail, like from the road at a couple points, and you could come in from, you know, the northeast or from the south or the southeast, the northwest, and get there. So, you know, multiple routes, you know, so kind of a loop hike of some sorts. And that's, I'm going to guess that's true, but that's true of a lot of different hikes you can go on. So think about the ones that you're familiar with and see if the other clues line up for that. One is better, though both will do. So one's probably a little quicker, maybe a little nicer. Like if you come in Julie Andrews from this way, there's a section that's kind of rocky, and this other section is just beautiful pine dirt. It's a beautiful trail. So, you know, I thought, hey, that lines up. You'll know you're close with branches swinging. All right, I struck out on this one, but I'll give you a few ideas for it. So first, is there a swing hanging from a tree somewhere? That'd be a good clue. Second, what's another thing, like say you broke off a branch, now you have a club. Oh, like a golf club. So maybe that's another allusion to those golf courses I mentioned early on with around or through, playing through with two birds and such. Or it could, of course, be a bat, a baseball bat. So maybe some baseball field, but I don't know if you're going to find one of those up in the mountains when you're already zeroing in, because we only have 3 lines left. The third to last, listen to the hills all singing. So this is the one where I thought of Julie Andrews Meadow, which it just has a pretty spectacular view of Timpanogos in the background and nice kind of green and lush and somebody just wanted to dance and spin in circles and sing "The Hills Are Alive" with the sound of music as they went through. So that's the one where I started at the end instead of starting at the beginning, and we went up there and we found this spot. In fact, my other video, I'll link it here, I made where we found a spot that looked like it had been there. It really, I mean, somebody set this up to make it look like it had been there. That's really how it seems. It was so convincing. So we thought we had just missed it, but we hadn't. That was not the right spot. That's not where it was, apparently. And if you're thinking of going there and searching more thoroughly, I didn't search all around the perimeter really thoroughly, but I did enough to see a few little rocks turned over. And so I'm pretty sure somebody else did. And whenever they found a rock to flip over near some lone tree, they flipped it over. So it's probably been combed over, and that's probably not the spot anyway for multiple reasons. Second to last, kiss the tree that's all alone. Here I have a unique one for you as well. As far as kissing, I don't know what that means. Does it just mean get there, go hug it, hug and kiss, like go right up to it? Does it say something about the height, where you can kiss it? I don't know. But here's the thing that I thought of. Let's jump back to Spanish oaks yet again. And if I zoom out a little bit, look what we've got here. Lone Pine Ridge. So maybe the tree that's all alone is not even a tree, but Lone Pine Ridge instead. The downside of this is if you get up closer, you get to this ridge and it doesn't really tell you specifically. There are not really any trees down there that are all alone. There are a couple pine trees that are alone among the scrub oak, but they're far enough off trail that it really doesn't sound like what David and Paul are describing as you being able to take a trail almost all the way there and not being a very arduous hike. So I don't think it's those. And finally, find the chest beneath the stone. That one sounds pretty straightforward, like you're there, roll the stone over, and voila, $20,000 for you to buy yourself something nice. Oh, and hey, if this video by chance helped you find it, if you're like super awesome person, just very giving, the kind of person who your mother always wanted you to be, always knew, go ahead and Venmo me. That'll be great. Otherwise, just a like or something on the video, a share would be payment enough for me. All right, let me tell you that professional searcher tip now. And that is when you go out to find a person or when you're tracking an animal, you're not going to have your best chances if you're scanning the area for the person and for the animal. The way you do it is you look for clues, footprints, maybe candy wrappers if it's a kid or a slob who litters, or those people. Who are you people who like blow your nose and then throw your tissues on the side of the trail? Those things don't decompose. Please don't. And your dog poop too. Great, use those bags, but take them with you. Bring a big baggie to bring them in. They're disgusting. Everybody hates those. So you don't look for the thing, you look for clues. And now you might be rolling your eyes right now thinking, oh, Sean, treasure boxes don't leave any clues because someone carries them in and then hides them. But actually, there's another clue I gleaned from one of David's comments when he said, know that after I thought it had been found, and I documented that, he pointed out, no, it has not been found. In fact, nobody's even walked past it today, but a deer did. And so what does this tell us? Does it tell us that he was sitting behind in a blind, just kind of watching all day? No, I don't think so. I think they have a trail cam nearby. So if you think you're getting near, then scan the trees for trails cams sitting up there as well. Usually strapped to a tree, often, I don't know, as high as someone could reasonably get to strap it to a tree. They're often black or camo, kind of a dark green or brown. And another thing that this can tell us is it's probably one of the trail cams that has a Wi-Fi, or not a Wi-Fi, but a cell connection so that it can email the pictures down to them, because I don't think they're going up to extract the SD card every night to check it. So as you get around, look up in the trees as well as looking down for all the clues. And who knows, maybe it'll help you find it better. So, well, there are all my ideas. So I invite you to do two things. Number one, if you've got some ideas and you're feeling generous and you don't think you're going to find it or something, or you just want to cooperate, make this some kind of team effort, share your thoughts on these clues as well in the comments. And also, if you'd like me to do this again next time the other clues come out, just give it a like, and that'll tell me that, or just give it a watch. If enough people watch this, I'll know it'll be worth my while to give you my 2 cents, and hope somebody finds it quick. I don't know, I'm divided on this one. Do I want it to be found quick so that people don't get out there and get hurt, or being a rescuer, we're always thinking about those things. But on the other hand, I'm kind of with the Klein fam and On the John that it's great to get outside. I went out for a hike today. Oh, I need to show you this as well. My confidence level on this Spanish oaks thing was really low, like a 2.5 maybe. It just didn't line up the clues well enough, and this is such a popular spot. Like, I did a little loop here, and when I came back across these tracks here, my previous tracks were completely obliterated. Like, enough footprints had walked over them that I couldn't even see my tracks. So I really didn't think it was going to be there, but I needed to go for a hike anyway, and that was about as close as anywhere else, so I went there. And especially when I headed up this hill and I looked down over all this farmland, it felt really good just to be outside. It is good for you. So I think that's half their whole point, to have fun, to get outside and make everybody feel better. Boy, this world needs it with all the craziness and stuff going on. So, all right, that's all I've got to say. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.